It's going to be the bottom right of your bracket if you have it kind of vertically. The Midwest, the 1 seed is going to be the Houston Cougars. The 2 seed will be the Tennessee Volunteers. Kentucky is your 3 seed. Purdue is your 4 seed. Also, this is where we find Raider Jim's Gonzaga Bulldogs, the WCC tournament champions. They are the 8 seed. They are going to be facing the Georgia Bulldogs. And more than likely, if they get through there, we'll be facing off against Houston. Raider Jim, I'm going to give you the floor to talk about your Zags and the Midwest region.
Yeah, certainly not looking past anything on this first round. You never do that. What's Gonzaga bringing to the table? They're bringing that big West Coast Conference championship win. And that was big because they proved to themselves one thing. Even though they got taken out twice by St. Mary's, they learned a different type of basketball, or they played a different type of basketball. They played gritty. They played tough. One thing they need to have, though, you can't show up to the dance without some outside shots. And that was terrible for them. They have to be just as powerful offensively as they are defensively. They're a good scoring team. They rank high. You mentioned it before. Their free throw shooting is just phenomenal. That's going to be very important. So they got to play smart. They can't foul a lot. They just got to stay focused. Keep your eyes on the team in front of you. Mark View's got them in shape, and he is also making the right personnel changes. He's playing some real good chess with the players out there, and I think he's going to put a good team on the court, definitely against Georgia. I forget what the spread was. I know that they are already they are the favorite in that game. I want to say by 5 or 6 maybe, and I can see that. But let's, even if they just win by 2, it's there. It is, survive and advance. You got to get out of that first round. You can't worry about Houston. Houston can't worry about who they're going to play next. They're all going to be concentrating on who's right in front of them. Houston is just a beast of a team. But I will tell you, I watched Tennessee. And wow, that was they got that little guy on. Listen to me calling somebody a little guy, because when he stands out there against everybody else, he looks like he's 5'7", 5'8", and maybe he is. And doggone, his name escapes me. Kai somebody. His last name starts. This kid is a player, and he was going up against Auburn. And let me tell you what, he backed down from I think it was Auburn, and he backed down from nobody. And he's a leader. So I think you're going to see Tennessee, of course, gets out of that first game on Thursday. So does Utah State. Utah State is going to take care of business against UCLA. No doubt about it for me. I think that's going to be fun. Kentucky's going to take care of business against Troy. Illinois, who is playing some real good basketball of late. Look for them to advance. If you're Texas or Xavier, boy, you think you got it tough tonight, wait until you wake up and you got to go play against Illinois. And watch for Illinois to dispatch Kentucky over the weekend as well. I think that's going to happen. Purdue's going to get on, move up again against Clemson. And then it's going to come down to who's going to be the faster of the two teams. And I give Clemson the nod on that one. Gonzaga, Georgia, you know who my pick is in that one. And if they do survive and advance out of that round, and if it ends up that they've got to play Houston, Gonzaga has the character to take care of business. And they've got it because of the players. They play smart ball the majority of the time. As long as Ryan Nembhard doesn't get crazy and get called for any more technicals while he's not even on the court, I think Gonzaga will be fine. And everybody's, you love them or you hate them, and you just would love to see them one more time get into that Sweet 16 round.
Yeah, this is kind of crazy. So this is now Gonzaga is going to be the third 8 seed that we've kind of talked about. And let's just kind of recap. You got the 8 seed at the top of this that was finished the season ranked number 10 in the country in Louisville. Then you have the other 8 seed in the West, UConn, maybe you heard of them, two-time defending national champs. And then you got the 8 seed in the Midwest, which is Gonzaga, which is closer to being ranked number 8 rather than seeded number 8 normally. So it's pretty incredible to see where we're at. A tough draw for Houston, assuming Gonzaga can take care of business, which I do believe that they will. Houston is an interesting story because I do think this is a team that has their expectations have gotten bigger and bigger and bigger. And this year they are as high as they can go. And they've essentially, outside of being the number 1 overall seed, they've exceeded all expectations. So I'm interested to see a Gonzaga-Houston showdown. Again, will we see it? That's another question. I'm sure Georgia and, Southern Illinois, Edwardsville, I'm sure wants to say something about that. But I do think a Houston-Gonzaga matchup is very likely, and I'm going to call it right now. Houston-Gonzaga, if we get that in the second round, you might as well call that the regional final. I am very big on Houston. I think they are right behind St. John's in Florida, kind of I have them as a better team than Auburn. I have them as a better team than Tennessee. And even in this one, the other part of it, Kentucky. I do think it's going to be Kentucky versus Houston. It's crazy to me that it's 2025. I'm doing a college basketball podcast, and I'm still referencing Lamont Butler. Now his health is up for debate. And I like Lamont Butler. It's great, but I feel like he's been in college for 18 years now. I mean, it was 2 or 3 years ago, he was the game-winning shot in the Final Four for San Diego State over Florida Atlantic. So he's been around the block, but his health, I think, is going to be very, very key for Kentucky. Very different Kentucky team than what we're used to seeing with kind of the one-and-dones and the Calipari kids, if you will. This is a veteran team that might not be veterans of Kentucky, but they're veterans of college basketball. These are, adults already, essentially. A lot of 22, 23, 24-year-olds running around, which in Calipari's time, it was a lot of 18, 19, and 20-year-olds. That's a big difference there when you get to the tournament. I think they are a team to keep an eye on outside of the Houston Gonzaga. I think McNeese State is very live over Clemson. And I'm going to go crazy right here. I'm going to call it High Point over Purdue. I think High Point can get it done. I think Purdue, they've been massively overseeded. Zach Edey is into the NBA. And Purdue just doesn't do it for me. They really even didn't do a whole lot for me last year, other than the fact that, okay, well, yeah, they got a real big tall guy. And unfortunately, that was the team that, tried to go up against UConn. And I knew that was not going to happen. So keep an eye, High Point. At the very least, keep an eye on that spread. I think they cover, but I do think they take down. I think we see McNeese State, High Point. I think this is the bracket of chaos. I don't think we see, unless it's Gonzaga, I don't think we see a big seed go to the Final Four, but I think this is your chaos bracket. And even the Texas Xavier situation, that's a tough matchup for Illinois going forward. So this is the bracket where I'm just kind of looking around going, okay, if anything's going to bust, it's probably going to be around here. So let me see if I can get ahead of that. But with that being said, I still believe Houston and Gonzaga. I cannot believe Gonzaga got an 8 seed. I know they've had a bit of a down year, but the talent at some point needs to kind of go ahead of everything. And they have so much talent for an 8 seed, maybe the most talent. Well, not with Louisville on that line, but that's the committee's fault, not Gonzaga's. So very, very intriguing matchup. Hopefully Georgia doesn't become the fly in the champagne for all of us here on the podcast.